what would each of you say to a person of color when they are looking at you and they're trying to understand that you really are their friend and you really do feel some of their pain and you really do want to come together to help them? How can we help the community when they come back and they listen to this call know that the four of you, if they were sitting at a table with you, what would you tell them?
Caren, thank you for bringing this up. I'm really passionate about this, as I feel like I've been living under a rock because I didn't know that this was going on. I truly was ignorant about this. And so the first thing I always tell people is, if you are unsure, ask questions. Ask genuine questions. Don't make it seem like, it's a black thing or it's a white thing. No, genuine questions. As a black female, Caren, when somebody does this to you, is it different for you? How does that make you feel? That kind of questioning brings forth education.
Yeah.
And through that education, then we're able to educate others. And this is where action takes place, whereby when you hear others speak out of turn or disrespectful, even like a lot of times I hear my friends talk about minorities when there's no minorities in the room or no minorities around, whether it be a black person, an Asian person, doesn't matter. They think it's okay, and it's not okay. And so that's where education comes into play, where we need to speak up for those of us who have been educated. And even if we haven't, maybe pose the question back to another person. When two white people are talking about something and they make a comment towards a person's race, question them on it. Why would you say something like that? What is going through your mind? And a lot of times I find that it is because of the education that we've been taught from our parents, because we live in totally different times. I was brought up to never talk about race. You see a black person on the street, you don't talk about the fact that they're black, because it's disrespectful. That's what I was taught. So it's my job as an adult now to re-educate myself and to unlearn what I was taught as a child.
Yeah, when you see that person, it's like they could be your friend or your coworker that happens to be black, right? Or happens to be, another minority. But that in itself is just the shell. I mean, we didn't have a choice. We're born white, but we have had advantages that other have not had just by that mere fact. And I think that was one of the things, for me, I don't consider myself racist, but I've certainly probably said things that could be, taken out of context, because I'm not going to, sit there and say, oh no, I've never, I'm not one of those people. But I think that, I've had discussions with people about the Black Lives Matter. And when that first came out, even a couple of years ago, at first I was like, well, all lives matter. I kind of went that direction. But then it was more about, understanding the whole systemic racism and really what they're getting at. They're not saying that that all lives don't matter. It's just Black Lives Matter too. So it's really kind of adding that too, and just getting people to look at that differently. Honestly, I still find it surprising and appalling that we have these conversations in 2020, and that it does feel like there's more of a divide. But I think as much as having social media sometimes can be a blessing and a curse. I think that that has brought forth the issue to where people might have been in denial, and it's like, okay, it's right there. You know, this has been happening for years, but now we can see it clearly.
But the perspective,
Yeah.
like people, Anthony, I love the idea of asking questions, but I think
Yeah.
it goes further than that. Like people have different perceptions and different perspectives. So asking a question is a great way to go about it too, but I think it's all systematic as well. And the thing is, we can't bash the other person for having their opinion about it. Right, wrong, or indifferent, it's their opinion. And they're allowed to have it. And I think what's happening, like you're explaining, Lori, is that people are bashing others and not allowing others to have their opinion. And the
Yeah.
way we can help the conversation, because Anthony asking the questions fosters education, but also fosters conversation. So
Yeah.
Exactly.
you ask the question, okay, I hear you. And then, but you don't turn around and say, like, I'm Jewish. I wouldn't turn around and say, well, I've experienced anti-Semitism, so I know how you feel. Because that won't help the matter. It's all about spotlighting
Mhm.
what they're feeling.
It's a conversation and a dialogue. I mean, Antony hit it, and so did you, Caren. That's what's missing. There's all this he said, she said, he said, and everybody's speaking to get their point out, but nobody's actually listening. And I think, when you listen to understand, I mean, we could say this about LinkedIn, we could say this about corporate America, politics, anything. I mean, it's critically missing piece is that people aren't willing to listen.
And I
Yes.
think what you're hitting upon is experience. We all look at life through our experiences. So as a white guy growing up in America, I generally don't have people coming after me because I'm white. Now that's kind of changing since the white guy is the patriarch now, and now he's being demonized. But most of my life that I've grown up, I've not experienced that. So it's through the conversations with people like you, Caren, who've had different life experiences, who can help educate me to say, yeah, I don't know what it's like to have had so many personal attacks just because of my skin color.
But treating people with respect, that's something we talked about last week, and something that is so sorely missing in so many of our conversations. Antoni, you got it right about asking those questions to understand so you can start the conversation. And it's okay, Caren, like you said, to disagree and not have the same viewpoint. And Lori and Steve, you said the same thing. But we have to keep respect. Respect the other person, that they are a human first. Doesn't matter the color of their skin. It doesn't matter about a lot of different things, really, at the end of the day, just that they're a human just like you. Because really, would you want somebody to treat your family the way that you hear these stories? Would you really want your family to be treated like that? And I think most people would say no, like that. If people could think like that before they make a comment, if they could think like that before they're having their interactions, and even if they're surprised by who shows up, but just remember, I gotta be respectful, it would change the way people interact with one another greatly. And I think that might be one of the ways. There are many, but I think it could be one of the ways we could start bringing healing to the table. You have to respect Black people. They're humans. It sounds silly for me to say that, but we are. We're people just like everyone else. We go through the same things. We have the same issues. There's nothing different about us except really the color of our skin. We are no less valuable. We have the same worth. We have the same worries, the same concerns, although some of our concerns and worries are on a higher scale level because of the systemic racism that has gone on for centuries. We still, at the core, have the same worries. We are the same. Just the outside looks different. We need people to understand that.